GameKO.
Never washes out.
Welcome back, coders, to a quick video. Today, I've got your favorite Silence Striker, Mr. N7, over
What's
here
up?
with me. We are checking out a brand new game that came to Game Pass today. Well, technically, I think it came out last night for some reason. I was able to access it late last night, but it came out today. And it's Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. I thought it would be a cool thing to just take a look at it and see exactly, what we think so far. We played one mission in, which means about 40 minutes or so of gameplay. It's a pretty long mission, wouldn't you say?
It's fairly long for a first mission, yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be quite as in-depth and everything like that, but I think I got a good taste of like what the game's going to be about and stuff like that, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it too. So just starting off, raw impressions, like what was your first feeling when you got in there and you started playing the mission and stuff like that? Like was there anything that stood out to you about Dark Alliance?
Well, I had no idea what to expect. I went in completely blind, and probably the most notable thing about it was the way each level is set up. The trailers and whatnot that I had seen made it look very hack and slashy. However, it's set up kind of like classic D&D encounters, where you move to an area, you have your fight. Sometimes it's an awesome fight, sometimes you're just killing faceless enemies, and then once that fight's over, you're safe until you reach the next point, and then there's another fight. And then throughout each level, they threw in the option to take a short rest. It drops your loot chance percentage, but then it refills your health and all your consumables, which I think is a pretty interesting trade-off.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's actually a really good comparison that I hadn't thought about. Is like it's set up like D&D encounters. You get a chance to like take in the environment, look at what's going on, like where you come, and you see encampment of creatures or something like that. You fight those creatures, you take them out, and then you move on. But like it's not like you're gonna go and get I don't know, just like organic fights that come out of nowhere that like kind of mix together. You're not going to accidentally, aggro another group of enemies that's a part of that fight sequence, if that makes sense. And then
Correct. That's definitely not going to happen.
And that I mean, it's an interesting way to do it. Like I thought that it was. I was worried a little bit at pacing because of that at first, but I thought that it actually held it pretty well, at least for the first mission. Interested in how that kind of continues. But the other thing that you said, the short rest, I found that to be a really cool risk-reward benefit. Like I've seen stuff like it in games. I think Dark Souls uses something like that with the camps, in that it respawns all the enemies. This doesn't respawn all the enemies, thank goodness, but it does allow you to kind of like, hey, I want to make a run and I want to get as much loot as possible, so I'm going to go not rest at all. Or like, I'm down to my last piece of health, I absolutely need it, fuck the fucking loot, you know what I mean? And we can move on. I thought that was a cool mechanic. What about the combat? What was your opinion on the combat from impressions?
So at the moment, I'm just playing through the first level. The combat it seems kind of arcade-like almost. Yeah. You have your set combos that'll happen when you perform certain inputs from yourself. Your light attack, your heavy attack. There's a jump, which is kind of unique to most games like this. Don't have any type of verticality. It's usually just a horizontal railroad right down whatever path they choose for you. Which there is a little bit of that, but just in the level that I played, I did find a few secret areas, which was kind of cool.
I was gonna say the jump isn't super combat focused. It's definitely available for combat, but it's more important in those exploration portions, which I thought I was pleasantly surprised by as many collectibles and like not collectibles, loot opportunities and surprises that you can find if you just look around. There's a lot of off paths.
I think that if you have it on your mind, they're very fairly marked.
Yeah.
There were a couple though. There were 8 collectibles that I was supposed to get. In this previous mission that I just played, and I think I only found 6 of them. And I wasn't really looking for them, but just going through, I found 6 without a hassle.
Yeah, and I was gonna say like I didn't find them all either, and I felt like that was a good reason for me to, like, when I go back the second time, because I know I will, knowing that there's a loot grind to it, that's an enticing reason to come back at least. besides just playing it for playing it. So I did think that was kind of cool. I mean, the items themselves are not necessarily like stellar, and one of the things that this game both does well and I think poorly is since it's a multiplayer focused game, and I can tell that it was not designed to necessarily be played single player. It's hard, like playing single player. Maybe not impossibly hard, but I was playing on the easiest level and I still almost died. Like, but they don't reveal what your loot is when you pick it up, unless it's money or like a random item. Like, so if it's not like if it's gear or anything like that, you don't know what it is or what abilities it has or anything like that. You can't look at it in your inventory until the very end of the mission, which is cool because if you're playing in a multiplayer game, if you ever played a game like The Division, like Jake and I have played hundreds of hours of, we constantly were stopping each other to say, hey, let me fuck with my loot. Like, yeah. and it'll be like mid-mission because you could do that all the time. This is nice that that's not there, but it's also like, what's the carrot to keep you going? And really the thing that carrot to keep you going seems to be like, I want to see what's next on the encounter or what next cool area I'm going to see. The visuals, which is what I was going to ask you about next, I thought were quite impressive. I was not expecting this game to be a looker.
Yeah, so I'm playing on PC, and I have an NVIDIA 960, which at this point is 3 generations old, and Crazy. It runs this game no problem. I have everything on high, and it looks wonderful. And I was surprised. I was very surprised with how good it looked on my old graphics card.
And yeah, and the art style itself really lends itself to being able to run well, but also look great. I was impressed. I think that it captured that Icewind Dale kind of vibe that I remember from the books. I've read just the original Icewind Dale book, like the first one. Never finished the rest of it. I should have.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard they're great. But yeah, the art style is exactly kind of what I pictured it as in a lot of ways. So that was kind of cool. And then I played it on Xbox Series X, so I've been playing on there, and it obviously looks and runs incredibly. No issues there, so don't worry about performance issues. Bugs, though. Have you run into any major bugs? That's the word on the street so far about this game, is that it's okay. It has some cool multiplayer aspects, but single player sucks and bugs are crazy. So were there any bugs that jumped out to you?
Let me tell you about all the bugs that I ran into, right? I've got a list here. Let me pull up my paper. It's blank.
Oh,
paper. Zero.
You got me on
zero.
that one.
I have ran into 0 bugs with this entire game so far. Some of the UI things were a little bit confusing at first.
Agreed.
But no bugs. Not yet.
So I've run into a couple like minor bugs, but they were most of the bugs that I saw were in the pre-release code. So I got a chance to see an early access version. So did you, and that version was still rough around the edges. I'm curious if the review codes were not full, and maybe we'll see more as we play more, but the only thing I saw was somebody complained about an animation not playing when one of the big troll guys like shoots his chain at you and it just kind of slides you across the ground. That did it once, but the rest of the times it was fine. So I didn't have any that were like game breaking. They were talking about like enemies getting not aggroing, which never happened for me. But from what I've heard, the only reason I asked is I didn't know, like, what character did you play, because I heard that this was mostly around the Archer is the broken one.
Well, the Archer is terrible.
Okay, the Archer does suck. We both agree on that. Archer sucks. Don't play the Archer.
As the mechanics, the fact that the basic attack for the Archer is a kick.
Oh God! Like what?
So
what were
lame.
They doing?
And why can the Archer not walk and knock an arrow at the same time? Because I've shot a recurve bow and I can do that, and I'm not 100%. A legendary hero.
I don't really understand why occasionally the button press will work for drawing an arrow and sometimes it won't. I found that like when I first played the game, I tried the Archer just for a very, very quick period of time. I didn't even play the first mission all the way through. But it was just like inputs were not registering sometimes, and it was frustrating as hell.
I hated playing the Archer.
So if you're experiencing bugs, get the hell out of the Archer.
Stop playing the Archer. That's the fix.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I have been enjoying, I've been playing the Barbarian, which is when I first started playing, the animations seemed a little sluggish.
Yeah, they do.
And so some of the UI interface was a little sluggish. Like I would hit a button and it would be like a second and a half before that menu would come up. But now that I've played through 2 missions with the barbarian, I think I'm starting to understand the game engine's timing and whatnot a little bit better, and the way like some of the dodging and counterattacks and stuff like that work. And I think that there is absolutely a reason why the controls feel sluggish now, because I have a feeling that it's going to pick up, or that timing is going to be completely essential for higher levels.
Yeah, so one of the things that I noticed as well was I played the dwarf, and I really liked the dwarf. The moment I switched to the dwarf, I was like, yeah, this is my character. But I also noticed some of the sluggishness of controls. However, and this is an important thing, there's a lot of games that will do where there'll be unskippable animation, like an attack button. That is not this game. You can't skip an attack button into another attack button, but you can skip immediately to a dodge or a block.
Yeah.
And those are critical. The parry system is on point. I really like it. The timing for the dodges is great. Like when you're timing that right, it feels good. But there are long animations. It reminded me a little bit of Monster Hunter. That's not like a full comparison. It's just the slower pace of that. It's kind of how I initially felt it, except it's also got some combo potential that I feel like isn't in at least early. But that was kind of my impression, is that, yeah, you're right. Like the combos and stuff like that felt a little sluggish, and I think the dwarf is intentionally kind of tanky, so he's even slower. But there's still a lot of functionality to it, and his range is the slowest animation in the entire world. He like throws an axe, but it's like he does like a 4-second wind up, so you're gonna be across the map basically.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it's slow. But otherwise, I think the combat actually was my favorite part of the game. Like I once I got the hang of it, I'm starting to really like it so far. Feels good. I can see so much potential for comboing with other people and other players that you're not getting in single player. Like I can only imagine how, God forbid, if only the archer working. But all the other characters and stuff like that teaming up on a single character would.
Oh, definitely, and I'm also curious to see if there's more enemies or anything like that, which we'll definitely have some footage and some opinions on that as soon as we get that done.
Any final thoughts on the game?
I think at the moment, having only played probably a total of 2 hours on a couple different characters, I have good opinions so far. But I'm kind of reserving overall judgment just because I've only played the first level.
Yep. Pick it up on Game Pass. I wouldn't necessarily buy it right off the rip. How about that? At least my initial.
Definitely worth at least giving it a shot for now.
If you can get it for free, hell, for a low price, whatever it is. Like I definitely think that I'm eager to see where it goes. I know there are more enemy types, but I'm eager to see how they play and how those change things. So. Looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into this quick little impressions video. Thank you, Silent Striker, for giving me all of your opinions on this. I know you're kind of the foremost expert on D&D compared to me, so appreciate that. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and as always, stay classy, Cody. Hit it with that sign off, Silent.
Silent Striker. Have a good night.